All right, let me flip over to me channel.
Nice. Fantastic. We are on the scene, lean and mean.
All right, let's load my laptops. I'm gonna need a new one soon.
I was there last year. I can tell you, it's a bad spot to be in.
Will pop. I'm gonna give myself a like.
Get all them upgrades in there.
For sure.
It's been a while since we've done this, but it's fantastic to be here. I lost your audio.
Better.
Yeah.
All right. Somehow my mic got turned off. But anyway, Emceemur here, the man, the myth, the legend, the major market YouTuber himself. It's been a while since you've been on the stream. How you been doing?
Oh, I've been pretty good. Just really busy getting into the holidays. We're very behind on production here. And nonetheless, there's some major things happening behind the scenes. So I'm excited to get a few more episodes out on what's been happening here lately and then hopefully move really strong into 2024. But yeah, there's just not been enough time to really get the content out the way I have wanted to. But there's episodes in the works right now.
Excellent. It never seems to be enough time.
There really doesn't. And, I'm at the point now to where the production is full scale enough to where it really should be subbed out to somebody. But,
Yeah.
the project isn't pulling in that kind of money and therefore would not sustain itself. And I don't know that people could do with it what I would want them to because it's got a specific format, a specific air about it. And I think that has a lot to do with where it is and how it's done. And I would like to maintain that. So. But it's tough. It's a tough time of year. A lot of work to do.
Yeah. So, the topic of tonight's live stream is the gaming community, where we were and how we got to this mess. Over the last couple months, there have been a lot of bigger profile YouTubers in the limelight for bad reasons. I made a video on my channel about Boogie299 and Gerard the Completionist, but I think it's important to go back in time a little bit and figure out where the gaming community was and how we got to this point. So I've already shared my notes with Mur, but 2008, 2013, to me that was the height of the gaming community. It was really about gaming, love for gaming, game collecting, pickup videos, live streams, no death runs, and those community binding events like tag videos, challenge videos. And it wasn't that infrequent for people just to send packages of games to other people with no expectation of having something in return. I think that was
Right.
the best era in YouTube gaming. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on sort of the pre-e-begging history, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, and I'm hearing a little bit of echo back from you. Have you got your sound off there?
Nope.
Okay.
Just my mic.
Okay, we should be good. In that era too, we were in a different time as far, especially from the perspective of what I do. People they weren't attached to the stuff yet. Stuff wasn't going crazy. Every yard sale person wasn't out there on eBay, pricing each thing at retail with price tags like they're running a store or a pop-up or something. So we hadn't really got to where things had blown up and gone crazy yet. It seemed like it was already mainstream, but it just wasn't. And about that time, I had thought about making a YouTube channel just because I wanted to share with everybody, my path, my journey that I've taken, since the 80s with it. But until I saw creators like the Game Chasers, I'll use them as a perfect example. I didn't really know that other people did what I did as far as like having walls full of games and everything. I didn't know people did that. I mean, people knew me as the guy, oh, that's the crazy dude with all the games. People would walk in the room and be like, oh my God, dude, where did you get all this? So it just seemed to me that was a kind of a crazy thing that I did. I didn't know that other people did it. And to my knowledge, I don't know that a lot of people probably even did back then. But when I saw the Game Chasers, that was the first time that I was like, okay, I'm not alone in this. People do this. And I had the thought that this is going to let a very enormous cat out of a very enormous bag. And as and that can't be helped, right? I didn't look at them as like they were a bad thing because of that. I looked at it more as an inevitability. Like, everybody's going to catch on to this. This is going to be huge. I still didn't end up making my channel till a few years later, which was a massive mistake in hindsight. I wasn't prepared. I didn't know how to do any of this coming in. But I do remember the space back then, and it just was remarkably different, like you say.
Yeah, and then we kind of get into that next era, 2013 to about 2020. The retro game boom is in full effect. Prices go really high. YouTubers that are in the gaming space that had a following get really, really popular. And it seemed like overnight that they were able to create a revenue stream for themselves with ad revenue, merch, personal appearance fees, those types of things. And then it just didn't seem to be enough for them. They wanted to be YouTube gaming celebrities, and then we get into the e-begging, the Patreons, the super chats, and all of these things that started to tilt to the downfall of the gaming community, in my opinion. Now, at that time, there were still very few big YouTubers in the gaming space. You get to the Metal Jesus, the AVGNs, the CJRs, the Game Chasers. So it wasn't like you had a bunch of people making a bunch of money, but there was certainly a core group that was able to profit off the gaming community. And when you have that boom and all of these 30, 40-year-old guys start to rediscover their love for Nintendo, and they're willing to pay these high prices because they've got disposable income, and nostalgia is a hell of a drug, then there was like the real big explosion of viewership and smaller channels on YouTube. So what do you think about that era?
Well, that was all the segue, right, to it truly becoming mainstream, which even the people at that point that were into it and the viewer bases, I don't think we were prepared for where we were going to go. I know I wasn't. I mean, again, we knew it was going to blow up into something. No one could have ever imagined how big. And man, it's a wild thing because I don't want to paint it up as a bad thing, right? But in some instances, it has been that, because when something goes mainstream, that generally means everybody's into it. So now you start trying to math that. We start figuring out the fractions and what percent of everybody is really your cup of tea when you think about it. It's like a bunch of people showed up for a party and you didn't realize it was going to get that big, and now it's out of control. It's just a really strange scene. And I see a lot of people, projecting this, oh, I'm this massive retro gamer and I've always been into this and da 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 da. And it's like, cool, that's great. But in reality, I think a lot of them didn't really come back to this till probably around, and I don't want to jump ahead, but around 2017 when the Switch dropped. I think that had a remarkable effect on it, because that brought a lot of the Nintendoites out of the woodwork that had been quiet for a long time. Because the time frame you're talking about, that Wii U era, there was a lot of hate for Nintendo. There was a lot of people that just didn't buy in on that premise, right? So
And
there was
even
a
like
lot of
corporations like Nintendo, they were like, we need to get some of these bigger YouTubers on board with the Switch. We'll send them copies, games, all of that stuff. And there was like an abundance of Switch channels. But specifically, the e-begging era, this idea that a gaming YouTuber is entitled entitled to make a living off of the audience because they don't want to get a real job that supplements their income so they can live their life. They want their lifestyle to be paid for by the community, and that was just a devastating sort of error and a blow because I think it took credibility away from like the real gamers.
Mm-hmm. And again, I don't want to jump ahead too fast, but we've got a fan in the chat here saying Emceemur steals games. Let's go ahead and just talk about that. Get it out there. Emceemur's never stolen anything. All right. And the incident in question is where I opened up a case and there were 2 discs in it, right? Cheap games, nothing. And I asked the lady, what do you want for this? She said $3. Great, $3. Done. Now, I did say, I'm not calling attention to the fact there's 2 games in here because the games are worth nothing, right? In fact, those 2 games, GameStop would have paid her $1.75 for them both total. So she actually made more money. And we don't know that she didn't know there were 2 discs in there. I just didn't say there were 2 discs in there. I didn't put the disc in there, but you want to frame this in and make it something that it's not. It's just not that. If you walk up to a box of shoes and you see a Rolex down in the bottom of it and it says on the box $10 for box, yeah, you can tell the seller, hey man, there's a Rolex in here. You probably want more than $10 for this. But you also could just not, okay? Because the seller, it's on them to price their items, to sell them, and you give them money. And that's what happened there. It was an exchange. Nothing was stolen from anybody. And in this incident in question, this woman actually received double the actual market cash value of those games. So I hope that clears it up for you.
So let's just get
I can clear up anything you want to clear up. That's the thing. If you want to have a debate, if you want to talk about something, we can talk about it. There's nothing that I do on my show that I can't easily explain. But like I've told people, maybe I don't tell the story right every time. I can be guilty of that. And sometimes things look a certain way, and that's taken a certain way because it's already been put in a framework, in a context that isn't exactly what happened. But, ask questions, and I'll be glad to clear it up for you. It's not difficult, and there's nothing that I do that I have a problem with.
Yeah, let's slide in, since we're getting there. Let's slide into sort of this last era that I've identified, which is the COVID to current. And what happened during COVID is a lot of people were allowed to work from home. A lot of people started creating secondary avenues of income, and that included reselling. Now, in the last 3 years or so, on the gaming space, it's been less about gaming and more about drama videos, hate videos, and reselling videos. Those are sort of the main things that get views, and it's really sort of killed the gaming community as we know it, because there are a lot of people, in my opinion, that have gaming channels that are not gamers. They're not game collectors. They don't know jack squat about games. They just have them as eye candy for the viewer to get buy-in to the nonsense that they're spewing, whether it's a hit piece on a certain YouTuber, whether it's a look at how I'm reselling all this stuff, which again, I don't have a problem with reselling. I'm a reseller. I have an eBay store. But
okay, I don't want to stop you, but stop right there.
I think people
are you really a reseller?
Yes. You? It's not my main source of income. But
okay, so right there, that's why you're not. Let me explain to you. That's why you're not. It's not your main source of income. All right. In any hobby, in anything that is collecting, there will, and I've explained this before, there will be buying, there will be trading, and there will be selling, because you're going to end up with stuff that you're just going to have to move on. You're going to have to move the stuff. So a reseller to me is the guy with the bots online that bought all the PS5s at Christmas time, and he's flipping them for thousands, and whether he plays games or not, I don't know. But it's the guy that goes to the AMC movie theater and buys all the empty Mario popcorn buckets on opening day, so none of the kids get any, and then he goes and sells those on eBay. That's the reseller, right? When I dig a Wii up from a box on the ground covered in straight up doo-doo, and then I go home and clean it up and put the parts with it and make it a bundle and sell it to help pay for some of what I bought or collected that day. That's not reselling to me. Yes, I sold an item that has already been sold before, if that's going to be your absolute definition of the word. But resellers, that is their job. And they don't stop at just video games. They buy licensed stuff from dollar stores and resell it. They buy gluten-free Oreos and buy their local stores out of them and sell them online to the people that need them. They drop ship. They do stuff that's obviously, it means it's a career. I just don't buy into the idea that what you do and what I do is reselling. It's not a job. And it's just like card collecting, like sports cards and stuff. I mean, we just had the National not long ago, and all that is an entire weekend of buying, trading, and selling. How could you not have some selling go on? It's like saying you can inhale without exhaling. It's literally that silly to suggest that no one should sell anything, and they're not reselling when they do that. They bought at a price, and a time later, maybe they can get more for it and then buy something else. It's almost like stock.
Well,
and you're still enjoying the items.
That's what I wanted to bring up, is to sort of piggyback off of what you said. If I'm selling, it's my responsibility to sort of know what I have and price it accordingly. But I think that in this era where there's this anti-reseller sentiment, they're not taking into account that as the buyer, I'm taking 100% of the risk.
And I want to make sure we're addressing the
I
chat
take that
here.
home. Oh yeah, that PS3 worked well. You got to do all these things. So I think there's a disconnect. And I think most of the people that have that backlash towards resellers are jealous and maybe just hateful in nature. And we've talked about that before. But yeah, I just think it's kind of weird.
Well, I see a comment here that says that why are you throwing Phoenix Resale under the bus, CM Retro? I mean,
that's what Mario.
I met Phoenix Resale not long ago. Now, obviously, that's his job, right? But he keeps it, I guess, to just video games. That's what he does. But there's just not the problem with that people think there is. And the proof's in the pudding, because, again, I met Phoenix Resale at like a con, like a pop-up, like a mini event where it was nothing but game sellers. So immediately you would think like, oh God, this guy's here. Now I'm not going to get any games. It wasn't it at all. There were deals everywhere. I was making deals right next to the guy, right? It wasn't an issue. And yeah, he was buying up stuff to resell it, I'm sure. I sold some of what I bought there. I kept some of what I bought there because that's what I do. But what he was doing did not infringe or mess with anything I was doing. If you take issue with that ethically or something that he did, I don't know, that's between you and him, whoever's making those claims. But as far as I can see, I mean, I don't know what there is to dislike there. I mean, it's just, I don't see anything wrong with it, and it's not causing a problem. There is so much of this stuff now. All of it's out, right? All this stuff's been excavated from the attics, from the crawl spaces, from the back rooms, going back to that time frame, but 2008 probably to 2012, you weren't seeing that stuff unless you asked for it, right? I mean, I've been in so many attics and strange places that people have invited me, hey, come look at this stuff. I do have some of that. Now everybody knows that they have games that's worth something. That cat's out of the bag. But as a result, we have games everywhere, right? And yeah, they may be higher priced nowadays, but they're out there, right? They're out there to get to where you don't have to think that, oh, well, because that guy bought some, now I don't get any. No, there's more out there than you can shake a stick at. There's just no real competition as far as that goes. Everybody can get a piece of the action. And that's what my show's about. I hope people take it that way. Just showing you where to go to get stuff, how to get it.
Yeah. But I think in this third era, while there are some passionate gamers out there, guys that I idolize are like, Megadan or Stampede Gaming, like real gamers, you know what I mean, that do no death runs and speed runs. I just think now it's all drama driven to get views. It's all hate driven to get views. And it's questionable whether these people should actually be in the gaming community or not versus being in some other drama topical discussion type um, community. So, with that said, where do you think we are right now, today's date in the gaming community? Are we flatlining? We're going up, going down? How do you see this shaking out?
We're flatlining, and I'll tell you the reason why. And gaming is not flatlining, and the value of retro games and gaming in general is not flatlining. But you talk about channels that are masquerading as gaming channels, but or for the purpose of doing drama or whatever. And I'm not going to tell you not to do something that gets views. I'm not going to do that. But there's a reason it's getting views. It goes back to the viewer even more so than the creator. Now, I don't want to absolve the creator of all responsibility, but at a certain point you make a video like that and a bunch of people watch and like, oh well, I guess I got to start doing this now. I think that the viewership has changed these creators and taken them off their paths onto a path they may not even have really wanted to have been on, but they're chasing that the view count and that money, so they do what people are going to watch, and that could be drama. That could be a lot of different things that aren't exactly gaming. There's a lot of channels too that are documentary type channels that are mostly speculatory. They're talking about stuff that didn't even really exist, a bunch of what ifs. I mean, and again, I'm not condemning any of this type of content. Do what you do, right? I do what I do. But at a certain point, now we have it to where if you want to make a gaming channel today, it's not enough to just come on camera and say, hi, I like Mario. Let's play Mario 3. Da, 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 da. All right, I got through this level and I liked this about you. No one's going to. You have to have this ultra mega be able to stand out in a market that's completely oversaturated. And unfortunately, that means going to some kind of extremes here and there. And it won't even happen for you, if you're speed running and no death running and all that, even that. People have seen that. That's not that impressive. You're not giving them any information that they need, really. That doesn't provide any real value to speak of. So it doesn't mean it can't provide entertainment. But as far as drawing a big viewer base, well, I mean, take everything that's going on lately in the gaming community. A lot of people are making the same kind of video about the same incident that recently happened, right? And again, not saying anything bad about it. You're doing it because people are going to watch it. But meanwhile, gaming's going on, right? And we're not talking about the games. We're not playing the games. And just talking about and playing the games, again, is no longer enough to be successful content. If you're not already established, it's not going to work. And I have the data to back this up. In fact, in the flea market flip and show, I used to show more of the games, right? I'd show the games that we pick up. We would talk a bit about it, when it came out, what it's about, what it's doing in the market. We still talk about what it's doing in the market, but I noticed in the analytics, when the game would come on, like the footage for more than like 30 seconds, the viewership would drop right off. People were clicking off. They were done. They wanted to see the hunt. They wanted to see the interactions. Cool. I'm glad. But I have to take from that, again, as the creator, they don't want to see the games. That's where we've landed. They don't want to see the games. Well, but that's what it's telling you. It's not for you to argue and say, well, they should want to see the games and I'm going to show it anyway. Right. No, you can't do that. I had to shorten those clips. You might see 5 to 7 seconds of gameplay now, just so that it triggers in your mind as you're getting this stuff fed to you in an ADHD format. Okay, that's the game. That's what it looks like. Moving on. I was losing the viewership because they didn't want to hear about the game itself. They did want to hear about the value. They did want to hear about the profit. And there's so many people now, and I don't want to keep circling back to this, but they take issue with you profiting off stuff you get. That's what people wanted to see. I mean, I'm on my 7th year of this channel. So in the beginning, it was just showing people what I had, showing people what I found. Nobody cared. Then I see, oh, well, they want to see the profit margins. They want to know how much this stuff's worth. Okay, well, we start doing that. Well, now everyone wants to see collecting and collections. You know, as well as I do, collection videos are still a huge thing.
Yeah.
And now we just want to see buy, buy, buy. We want to see the stuff. We want to see you buying it, but that's it. And we can do that. I can deliver on that front because I mean, I go to cons, I buy stuff. I buy stuff for myself. I do buy things to keep. I just offset my expenses. But it's a constant battle of trying to figure out what people want to watch. So at the point the viewers show these creators that they do want drama and they do want, you know, back and forths between other creators and these big scandals and, you know, they're going to get a lot more of that. And when those creators run dry on that, one of two things is going to happen. They're going to go crazy to hunt something down and over sensationalize it so it becomes the next thing, or they're going to just invent something. They're going to make something up so that they have the next juicy piece of meat and head on down the road with that. Again, meanwhile, gaming's going on. New games are coming out. And I just notice a lot of things aren't being talked about. I find out about things secondhand that I'm like, huh, this exists? Well, it's kind of funny. Nobody's talking about it. And who somebody could have been talking about it. You know, it's just wild to me. And Mr. Matthews says, not going to lie, I click on drama 90% of the time. You know what? I'm not going to tell you. I'm not going to tell you I don't watch
Yeah.
people that do stuff like that. I've watched some people that, you know, I'm gonna pick on a creator here. Do you ever watch D Dave? I love D Dave. Uh,
Nope.
D hadn't been on in a while, right? It's been a few years since that channel's done anything, but D used to react to bigger YouTubers' videos, the ones that he found cringy as balls, and he was just absolutely hilarious. I couldn't help but watch it. He was just the funniest dude. And he was calling out people that were like going to GameStop and trying to sell people at GameStop fake games and like terrorizing the employees by harassing them and you know, just stuff that was just come on. But what's funny is I went back to that channel recently and I looked up some of the creators that he had talked about then, and they're like 10 times that size now. Some of those creators are upwards of like 5 million subs, some of those people that he was ragging on back then. And what's funny is they're not doing that anymore. They're not doing GameStop. They're not doing all the things that they were doing then. One guy is a sneaker channel now. He's a sneakerhead. He just collects sneakers, right?
Yeah.
So it's like,
Was
what were we even
that,
doing? Like the
was
viewers
that
dictate what you
overthink
do.
gaming? You
Huh?
know, was that overthink gaming that he's kind of a gaming channel and now he's a shoe and a arcade one up guy?
Oh yeah. He's definitely a shoe guy. I love his backdrops, man. He's got really cool
Yeah,
backdrops
looks
and
good.
filming. He's got a high quality show. I mean, yes, he does get into the dramatic content. I've met him. He's a really nice guy. I see him at SFG every year. I mean, personally, I like the guy. I mean, I certainly don't have a problem with it, but that's not the kind of content I do, obviously. But yeah, that's an example of, I'm sure that was getting the views and he decided that that's the kind of channel that I found I tell people, once you find an audience, that's the channel you have to be. That's the mistake that I made. I was getting big view counts off JRPG reviews, but I didn't become a JRPG channel. That was a mistake. I had massive views coming off my emulation videos. Still do from back then. I did not become an emulation channel. I had massive amounts of views come in from Call of Duty. I did not become a Call of Duty channel. Every time I kept going back to the game hunting and everything else, and I wondered why I wasn't getting any bigger than I was with all these different irons in the fire. Once the viewers tell you what they have come to your channel for, surprise. That's what you are now. And you kind of have to be that. And if not, if it's not the one you wanted, if you didn't pick the job out of the chore hat that you wanted, you better just start over. It's crazy, but that is where we've landed.
Yeah, I mean that that big two.
Retro Tiburon says, I forgot about D Dave. It was Dave that passed away, and I think that was probably what drove the spike there.
Yeah,
As far as that was the end of what they did. So that was really sad, and I really felt for D on that. I know that was really tough, but I think that's where they stopped because of that. And man, I know that all too well. Back in my wilder days when I was still in a death metal band, our drummer passed away. My best friend. one of the best friends I had on this planet, and that was pretty much it for our band. You know, I could not recreate what we had built over 10 years with somebody else. It was just, I couldn't even envision doing that. So that was a really sad thing, but that's what happened there.
Oh, yeah, it's sad. Oh yeah, I never watched D Dave. I think like, I mean, you're so right. I made a video about Boogie and Gerard, and it's got like 800 views, which is 2 or 3 times what my normal pickup videos would get on a channel my size. And it's just, I don't want to go down that route. I feel like that's low hanging fruit, and to just create content like that every single day seems lazy to me. Like I'm I'm trying to make my YouTube dues off the backs of other creators. And it's just not something that I'm interested in, but those are great points about monitoring what your viewership says your channel should be. I made a video today about my top 10 favorite shoot 'em ups, and I guess we'll see how that one performs. But I sort of just make the videos that I want to make, and I'm happy with being where I'm at on YouTube. But yeah, I mean, you're so right. If you want to get to that 100,000 subscriber level and beyond, I mean, you got to be willing to make videos that maybe you don't want to make, but you know that they're going to generate views and thus revenue. Um, it's just unfortunate. Like somebody mentioned Sniper Wolf. Again, fake gamer. She doesn't write her scripts. She doesn't play the games. Destiny FOMO's another one. And then, with this Gerard thing, you got Pro Jared coming out saying, "Oh, be nice to Gerard." And it's like, dude, you solicited boys for nudie pics. Like you should be off the internet, in my opinion. And it's really those bad actors like that I just get so infuriated by people like that, and people like Boogie. And now we got Gerard again. Nothing wrong with Gerard's content. I think we all can agree his content's really, really good. The completionist videos, but he's gonna be charged with a crime if this keeps going the way it looks like it's going. And it's like, those people to me shouldn't be role models. Those people to me shouldn't get views or adulation or attention. They are literally nobodies in the gaming community. In the space of gaming, they're nobodies. They don't know jack crap about any of the games they play or the collections that they wield power over. All they care about is sucking money out of the community, and that's what just gets me so mad.
Yeah, and I mean, if that was the end game all along, then I mean, okay. And I'm not going to say that you shouldn't take donations or have a Patreon or any of that stuff. Quite the opposite is true. I mean, I think that creators should get paid for their stuff. I mean, it's up to the viewer if they feel like they want to put something in the tip jar, but if they do, that's fantastic. They just need to know that, or at least as far as I'm concerned, it's not expected. I don't expect you to do that, but people have done it, and I greatly appreciate it. But yeah, as far as your video wasn't really like your segue into being a commentary channel or anything. You were basically just saying you were fed up, and that this is who you guys are looking up to. These are y'all's heroes, the big YouTubers that can do no wrong, and they let you down. They let us down every time, was your point.
Every time.
And you're not wrong. And it's like, there's so many of these big YouTubers that maybe haven't done anything as crazy as what you were talking about with, the whole completionist deal. But at the very least, they get caught frauding. They get caught lying about something straight up. And it's like, nobody cares. 4 weeks later, everybody's back to just, whatever, big deal. And they don't, like, their viewership doesn't waver one bit.
For whatever reason, in this part of the community, in the gaming community, if Emceemur gets a deal, that's like DEFCON 5. But when Commonwealth Flipper goes to a garage sale and tells a lady that has like $10 on a DVD player, "Hey, would you take $5 for this? My mom's looking for one." And the lady's like, "Yeah, sure." And then in the next video, he shows that he sold it on his eBay store for $25 plus shipping. Nobody says anything. He lied to that woman to get a discount in a video. Nobody says anything. Easy. I didn't see a Heckling Steve video about it.
Oh, you still, I mean, you still might.
It's
I mean, he may not have
bizarre.
seen him yet. Because
It's
there again, you're talking
absolutely
about a guy that's doing that kind of content. He's always going to need more. So he may just not have got to the guy yet. But yeah, as far as lying to somebody about it, that's obviously not a very ethical thing to do. But if you were just going to go and, it's not ethical to do no matter what you were going to do with it. But
sure.
um, as far as just getting a deal, like you said, being DEFCON 5, no. I mean, it's a knee-jerk reaction for me. It's like, okay, I have 5 things. We're at $20. All right. Well, let me add a 6th thing and let's do 17. All right, cool. And we shake. It's just in my nature to bundle. It should be in everybody's, right? I mean, because
Yeah.
again, and you already touched on this, we assume the risk, so we have to minimize the investment. And that's not even from a reselling standpoint. Even if you're keeping it all, why would you want to pay
Yeah.
more for it? I literally had a comment recently, and this really floored me. The guy said, you're a bum. I bet you've never paid up for any game in your life. And that floored. I had to really take a step back there because, like, at this point, we've turned this into like buying Air Jordans or a Rolex or something like that. Like, oh man, you never cop nothing, that kind of thing. It's like, whoa, hang on now. We're talking about video games, bro. You telling me that if I don't pay $400 for my loose Earthbound with the torn label, that's no good because I didn't pay up for it? I mean, I've paid up for games, rare stuff that most people would never even know what it is. And it's the only way or time that you were going to get it, like an eBay scenario where like, oh God, I've got to bid this up or it's not going to be mine. But generally, when you're out just hunting in the wild, why would you pay up for something? And we've addressed this recently on the show. I'm trying to address all these people that don't like what I do and have them understand, look, you can't pay eBay money to someone who's not on eBay. They're not shipping it. They're not guaranteeing it. They're not paying fees on it. You're never going to see them again if it doesn't work, which I'd say 50% of what I buy requires refurbishment of some kind. So you have to make sure that the price works for you. And if it doesn't, and you've touched on this, the seller can say no. Okay. It's one thing if you're trying to hustle the guy and say, oh, this isn't really worth anything. I'll give you $1. I'm not gonna say I've never said that to someone, but it's usually because it's worth $1. Okay, I can justify any purchase I made, and I do. Stick around to the end of the video. I'll tell you what you make on the stuff, and it usually ends up being less because when you go to sell the stuff on eBay, there's a new culture on eBay now, and you may have noticed this. You get watchers on an item. Cool, it's gonna sell. No, it's not gonna sell. They're there waiting for your offer. So not
Yeah.
only are you going to be out 20% of your listing costs, you're going to be out upwards of another 20%, giving that guy the deal he knows he's going to get from you if he just waits and he's not pulling the trigger till he gets it, right? So is he a thief? Is he robbing me? No, certainly not. He just knows that this is how this works. And this is the behavior or whatever the etiquette. I do this and I'll get a deal. And I'm glad to give it to them. I make sure that I account for that. So I've got a 10% I can shave off and make sure that I incentivize the quick purchase of an item. And again, this is all undercutting the market. So by doing so, we're lowering retro game prices, not raising them. God, I went round and round with somebody on that recently too. We're actually acting like we don't understand the basis of basic economics, supply and
Economic.
demand.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it's just wild. But you just have to think about that. That's what this is. It's not like, oh, people ask me all the time, oh, you have a problem with an eBay price, but you sell on eBay. He's not, this guy isn't selling on eBay though. That's the whole point. He's selling out of a shoebox and it's got scratches on it. It looks like he
Yeah.
had it in a phone booth while he was trying to shave a bobcat's ass. The thing is just like looking like it got drugged down a driveway. So yeah, I'm going to give him a couple bucks for it
Yeah.
because I'm
And
going
that
to have to fix it,
I
and it's
say that all
probably not going to work.
I say that all the time because it's like, especially like say disc-based games, right? Well, it may go. You may have saw on eBay that's a $15 game, but you didn't take into account that game hasn't sold. Maybe you should check sold listings. You haven't taken off the 12.5% eBay fee, the 30-cent transaction fee, the buyer money back guarantee, and if you have to resurface that disc or clean it up, you have to test it. You have to do all those things. So just because there is an item on eBay for a price doesn't mean that it really sells for that price or sells for that
No.
price consistently enough. And by the way, I'm giving you cash at a garage sale, right? You don't have to wait for the electronic managed payment to hit your bank account and do all these things.
You're
So,
not going to get a 1099.
yeah, and I just think it's weird that I kind of took some shit a couple years ago because I got in the face of a guy that owns a video game store, and I said, if you're charging eBay prices, why wouldn't I just order it off of eBay, have it delivered to my front door, send it back if it doesn't work? You don't even offer a money back guarantee. So if I come back into your store, you're not giving me my $20 back. You're going to try and give me a replacement or in-store credit. And that doesn't work for me, brother. There's we got an overhead and you're paying for the atmosphere. I got enough atmosphere in my house. The logic that I should have to pay the same price as eBay or more just because you have to run a game store is absolutely absurd to me.
It's wild. It is. And that's another thing that's interesting. And I want to touch on this. The people that are so anti reseller, whatever they think a reseller is, where do they get their games? Do you buy on eBay? Do you go to these? A lot of them do. And they say, oh, and I support these mom and pop shops. And you should support these shops, support these shops. Yeah, support them. But guess what? Those are resellers. Surprise. I mean, you really don't know that? I mean, that blows my mind that it's everybody, all this. If we're doing it off the basis that, oh, well, the item's being sold again, then everybody's a reseller. So you're supporting it. That's what you're supporting. So you can't have a problem with it. All the people in the retro game stores now are just people that had enough inventory to where they didn't mind some overhead. And it helps them to have a central location because they become this magnet, if you will, for people to be bringing in their stuff to dump out and try to get some credit for. That's the business. So yeah, if you want to support that, support that. I have no problem supporting that. I'll buy something in a store if it's something really wild that I've not seen anywhere else. But I'm buying from a reseller. This isn't 1989. It's not a mom and pop owns a video shop and they're also selling new software too. It's not that. It's people that are doing eBay out of a building that they leased and they're selling online too. We've got one right here in town that does it. And, everything's eBay priced and they're buying stuff locally. They're doing probably more sales online than they're even doing in store, but they would prefer to do it in store because they don't have to ship it. But yeah, and then
we have a store that I don't even go to anymore because all the rare and expensive stuff, they just put it up on eBay. I asked for a copy of Stunt Racer 64 when that game was about 180, 200. And they were like, yeah, we got a copy. It's on our eBay store. I'm like, can you go get it and I'll pay you for it? They're like, oh no, it's already listed on the eBay store. Like, what?
It takes 2 seconds to take it down. I mean,
yeah. And that's
why wouldn't you do that?
There's very few game stores that I actually go to anymore. And stores that do that and stores that don't put prices on their games and want to look everything up before they give you a quote, I don't shop there. I don't shop at those stores.
Well, I went to a store recently and had an experience similar to that. And I talked about it on the show and I caught some heat for it. And, they're like, you should support these places. It's like, yeah, no, I don't care to do that. You're free to do it. I don't care if you do. But and it's not about me going there to buy something to sell it. It's just, why would I pay you more than the market price? What? So I can be your friend? So I can be cool? I don't know. I don't know what the motive would be there. And there's been a huge uptake in channels now on YouTube. And again, I'm not dogging anybody's content. Do what you want to do. You have to observe what's being viewed, right? If you want to survive in this. But there's a huge uptick in people that are just going to cons and looking at all the eye candy, because obviously it makes for really great videos. You see some amazing stuff and they buy what they can, but they're paying up for it. They may bargain a little bit down, but they're paying up for it. But that's working out for them. People are preferring to watch that over than actual hunting in the wild, because we've started to confuse that with the wild. It's not really the wild any more than the meat department at your local grocer is, hunting a wild bull or something. The stuff's there and you went there to buy it. So where I'm going with this is when you're buying from people at cons, there again, you're buying from resellers. Those are people that don't want to pay that big percentage. They don't want to get a 1099. So they put it all in Rubbermaid totes and they buy a table at Hoot Hoot Con or wherever they go. And it's cool. I mean, great idea. I should probably do that once in a while, but You're buying from resellers. You're buying from the people. Where do you think they got all that stuff? It fell off a truck.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, they've
Yeah.
been collecting, they've been buying, they've been trading, they've been selling. They probably play games too. I don't know. But it's again, I'm always likening this to sports card collecting, something I got back into recently. And it blows my mind the stuff that's not parallel with the game collecting. Because over there, all people do again is buy, sell, and trade, and nobody thinks any different of it. And you might buy this card at $500 and then you sell it for 2,000, 6 months later because that player's popping off or whatever, having a good year, or the team's having a good year or whatever. You didn't steal from the person you bought it from, though. You just eventually were able to make a turnaround on it. And there's just nothing wrong with that. Any hobby in which you collect, it's going to encompass buying, trading, and selling. And you decide where in the food chain you end up. I mean, there has to be people that are the lowest on the totem, the secondary market, who I refer to the people at home in their underwear shopping on eBay. And that's cool because I mean, I do that. I mean, I buy stuff on eBay too. If I see something that's a good price, there's nothing wrong with that. It's inferred that that's going to be a higher cost because it's like you say, it's being shipped to your door. You don't have to do anything, but it is guaranteed. So that's cool. And those are that's obviously the lion's share of the actual existent buying market out there. Otherwise, you wouldn't sell anything, online. But there's that many people that don't go to cons, don't hunt in the wild. If they want something, they go on eBay or Amazon or whatever, and they pull it up and they buy it because that's easy to do. And they're probably not worried about whether or not they could have got it for $1 down the road. They want to get it. But you're buying from resellers. Everybody's a reseller. If you're truly in this hobby, you are a reseller. And I realize it comes down to how ethically you do the reselling. But I don't see a lot of stuff that I think is unethical going on. Most of the people I deal with, even at conventions, are really fair with their stuff. And again, if they don't want to come off the hip, a couple bucks, that's cool. I don't have to buy it. It's not like a aggressive thing like, oh, well, I ain't buying this then. Like that. It's just like, okay, that's cool. I mean, you want $400 for it. It's $420 on eBay. I can't do that. Even if it was not that, I'm just not going to buy it, but good luck, best of luck to you.
And something that
Tylord says, "Are you in your underwear now?" Yes, I am wearing some, but I'm not only in it. Yeah,
he's wearing them on the outside.
Yeah,
something that these anti-reseller people and the anti-eBay community failed because they couldn't come up as a collective of what actual eBaying was. Like I got called an eBayer because I asked people to like, comment, and subscribe.
Oh God,
you know what I mean?
But do we need to get into that right now? I think we do need to get into that.
In the reselling community, none of these guys that hate your guts will tell you, well, if it's a $20 game, then you should be paying $10 or $12. They never tell you exactly what percentage of the actual price you should be paying because they're all in shambles and they act like they've never gotten a good deal before. Like, it's weird.
Well, Woodbury says here, if someone is selling Earthbound for $1, I'm going to pay the seller's asking price. Of course you are. Yeah. Everyone is. I can't believe anybody would project upon anyone else something different, that they would not do that. And I know there are creators right now that are doing the American Pickers thing where they say, you know what, this is actually worth a little more, so I'm going to give you $20 more and a big kiss on the lips. It's like, man, that some of that's got to be for show, man. I mean, and that's fine if it is, but
goodwill.
And I'm not saying that I haven't talked with sellers that I know that obviously know what they have and made sure that I'm giving them something fair in the interest of perpetuating future deals with that person. But generally, if you walk up to a table and you say, how much for the games? $1.
Okay.
Let's go. I mean, I'm not even going to look at them. On my show, when I call it a no look, I'm not going to look at them. I'm not even going to price each one. $1 games. Let's go. And but you would expect me to sit there and like value it. Well, this one's actually worth $5, sir. I'd like to give you $3 for it.
Yeah.
There's nobody. You don't do that. Nobody's doing that. I'm sorry. Nobody is doing that. You wouldn't do it. Could not do it. They can set their prices and they can look the prices up. Everyone does now anyway. So if they choose not to, they probably don't care. And that's okay too. I've met so many people like, just get it out of here. I don't even want it.
Yeah.
I don't even want it here. And it's like, well, let me give you something. No, Just take it. And it's just weird. But circling back to the e-begging thing, as soon as I put my t-shirts up on the site, Teespring stuff, I started getting comments. Oh, this is stupid. Nobody's ever going to buy this. And it's like, that's fine. I wanted the shirts, right? For branding. I wanted to have a shirt with my logo on it. I don't care if anybody buys it. Now, to be fair, some people have. I was surprised. So to those people, thank you. But like, I was getting e-beggar comments because I put up a Teespring store, which if you aren't familiar with Teespring, it's made to order, right? There's no stock. There's no overhead. You buy it, they screen print it and send it to you, right? So I'm not paying tax
Yep.
on a thing of inventory that maybe nobody's going to buy. I mean, yeah, because if nobody buys it, there's no harm done, right? And it allows me to go ahead and buy something with my logo on it. But yeah, immediately everybody started coming at me for, oh, you're an e-beggar. No,
Yeah,
no,
no. An e-beggar is
stop.
someone that manufactures a video game museum or wants sympathy because they got water in their basement and they expect the the viewers to pay for it, or they want you to, subsidize a RV so they can go gaming around the country or their Japan
Wow.
trip, or I'm being sued by this YouTuber, so send me $500, even though I'm sitting in front of a wall of thousands of dollars worth of games. DSP is famous for, well, if nobody's going to, and for me, monetizing your videos, selling merch, that's not really e-begging, especially if it's unsolicited. I don't really have a problem with channel memberships, even though I don't feel that I don't
No.
feel it's right for me. If it's right for somebody else, that's cool. The super chats, it, it's all bizarre how they try and wrangle and make people seem like they're demons for selling a t-shirt. Meanwhile, they subscribe and support people that are obviously running charity and museum scams.
And
It's
that's
like,
all
what
I'm
the
saying. Those people that are doing that, I mean, do whatever you think you got to do to make money in this world. But I don't want to see anybody coming at me saying I'm an e-beggar when stuff like that's going on. And when those same people will exalt those creators, it's like they want to hold these small YouTubers to a ridiculous standard that, quite frankly, you can hold me to, because I'm not scamming anybody. But man, then they don't take issue with a bigger YouTuber doing something, because they do become Teflon in a sense. And depending on what happens with certain YouTubers and the issues that happen with them, I think if you look back through time, I don't know, that you give it about a month, 2 months, and it blows over and everything's back to normal for them. And there's no significant sub drop off. They may even end up with a sub blow up because their name's on everybody's lips, or how they say there's no such thing as bad publicity. So it's just wild. As far as people accepting super chats, stuff like that, I was actually surprised early on in my YouTubing to find out that that's really just a culture. That's a culture thing. If you don't have a way for people to donate, they're going to ask you how they can donate to you. That's how I figured out about it. That people want to give me money for streaming. Then I realized, well, yeah, that's something people do. So you might as well have your little tip jar set up there. And then people do. I mean, I'm not sitting there saying, do it, donate, do it. I'm not doing that. But people expect to want to be able to do that. And like on Twitch, you have the bit system where you can cheer for people and do that stuff. I think that's neat. It just kind of ties into a community thing that rallies around a creator and allows them to kind of grow an audience in that way. But yeah, like Oak City just gave you $1.99.
Oh, Matt, thank you for the
Look at that.
$1.99 dono.
And it's
And
great. Can I
Matt,
say? Can I say it's
how to
great
do
to
it
see
all.
that Captain Retro's here. I see that Smash JT was here. I
Yep.
see Oak City Retro has it's a lot of names. It takes me back to when we had this very small, tight knit community. Not there weren't communities
Yes.
everywhere. There were, but we had this very small thing, and you were kind of the godfather of the whole thing, because at the time you had blown up a little bit on some subs, and you were just kind of like I don't know, the crux, the center of it. That Now, does that make sense? I mean, you were one of the first creators to tell me, "Hey, man, I like what you're doing, and I think you're onto something here," and that really meant something to me when I had nothing going on, like not even 100 subs. So it's neat. Captain Retro's talking about some of the deals he runs, and Captain, he's in it. He's a career guy. It's his job. And now he's moved into pinball and arcade because it's bigger catches, right? It's a bigger kill than
Yeah.
just flipping a cartridge. He can make a couple grand instead of a couple hundred. And may I say, I'm very proud of his efforts and how he's jumped in head first, and he's really good at fixing and refurbishing those things. It's an amazing thing. But when he sees a machine for $500, he doesn't tell the guy that, hey, if this was completely repaired, it'd be worth $5,000, because he doesn't know if he's going to be able to fully repair it, right? He's going to try, but I don't want to keep circling back to that. But yeah, you pay the asking price and you roll the dice, and you're going to take your losses. You're going to take your lumps, and that's
Oh yeah.
okay. Everyone's like, oh, you're
Yeah.
trying to play a victim and you're mad because you have to pay eBay fees. I'm not mad about any of that. It's all
It's just
part
part
of
of
the
it.
thing that you have to observe. And if you're not ready for that, then everything you do will be taking losses, and you don't want to do that.
Yeah. We're going to slide into another topic, but I want to set this topic up. I watched the GameStop movie with Smash JT, featuring Smash JT. And while Jeff was in the video and some other people were in the video, I saw they had a clip from Darius Truxton. And I want to know if Darius got a credit or paid for being in the GameStop movie. So I don't know if Jeff is still here or if he can answer that. But I know you want to talk about GameStop a little bit and how GameStop, how we've sort of glorified, bastardized, and then glorify again GameStop.
Probably 5 years ago, there were a lot of channels that existed to just do GameStop stuff, to either exploit deals they were doing or whatever, or to go in and play pranks on employees, and everything they did. Every video had GameStop in the title. That was the juiciest keyword. There was one guy that did a whole thing just talking about his history as an employee there, I think, and how bad it was. And he made a whole channel about that. And I think last I looked, even today, he's still talking about GameStop. It still remains a juicy keyword, but
Camelot, man.
that's him. Yeah. And that's fine. But we got to a point where, I do my GameStop series where I go use their $5 coupon and I get a free game every month, either with
Yep.
just the coupon or use of the points you get alongside the deal you buy in on for the Pro card. We're still doing that challenge right now, and there's more to come. But I was receiving comments from people saying, you're taking advantage of GameStop and you're stealing from the company. And it's like, man, they gave me the coupon. I don't where did we land on that? I really need to know where we've landed to where I'm always the bad guy here while trying to be basically a consumer reporter. That doesn't make any sense to me. That doesn't math. They gave me the coupon. I
Yeah.
mean,
And
I'm going to go use it.
I get my $5 coupon every month. I go in there, find a game that's $4.99. And to be honest, at the end of the year, I'm gonna have 12 games. I paid $20 for that pro membership. I think it would be interesting to figure out if GameStop actually paid $20 to the people that brought those 12 games in. So GameStop's probably still making money on that deal.
They are. And, a lot of times when I go to GameStop, I bring the kids with me, and I'm not getting out of there for nothing. They're going to want something. So it's just one of them things. I don't want to say GameStop knows what they're doing. I still think they're taking a loss on that deal, quite frankly, the whole pro card thing. But, it's free money. I don't know how much they rack up in pro memberships. I just know on the other end of it, once they give me that free copy of Assassin's Creed Syndicate, they're not observing the fact that they paid $17 for it in trade a year and a half prior or whatever to somebody when it was still worth something. And then they can't even sell it for $10 in the Christmas bargain bin because they overbought. GameStop does a lot of things just kind of autonomously, unconsciously. And I think it bloats itself, and it gets to where now, they don't know what they are. But there's just as many people out there that still don't like GameStop. There's been the whole thing about people getting, open products that are being sold to them as new. And I did a video on that recently too, because I got sent some open collector's edition. That's where I draw the line there. You opened a collector's edition? Stop. Now, we can't do that, because the gut copies, I understand what they're doing with that. I don't agree with it, but let's face it, GameStop employees take games home and play them. They shouldn't be opening new copies to do that, but it does happen. But what GameStop did was they collectively bought all that stuff back up, sent it to their main warehouse for the purpose of distributing it in clearances, so they can make sure they sold that and stuck the online buyers with those items they would otherwise pass over had they seen they were open. So that's where that comes. I mean, GameStop certainly deserves any bad press that it gets, generally speaking. But it blew my mind that some people were actually sticking up for GameStop in some of the videos. It's like, we're not going to make them go away, and they have to be held accountable at a certain point for certain things. But again, they gave me the coupon. All right. And if you can game for free all year, why wouldn't you just do that? I mean,
Yeah, and the same
there's
people
more
that
games
are
in here than I'll ever play in my lifetime.
yeah, and the same people that are spewing hate about a YouTuber getting a good deal don't ever seem to go at GameStop because they gave some soccer mom $1 for Minecraft that they're selling for 19.99 on their shelf. You know what I mean? Like it's weird that it just kind of funnels and works one way, but when GameStop rips people off and doesn't give them max value for games, that somehow is okay.
Well, I'm generally always paying people more than what GameStop would, and if they don't sell the item, that's usually where they end up. If they don't end up just donating it to the thrift store, because again, they didn't want it to begin with, or Goodwill or whatever. I'm not saying I go on GameStop's site and make sure I'm paying more than that, but you just know that you do, right? Because I mean, GameStop's offered as low as a nickel. I mean, I worked there a few years. I've seen it. So it's like, I could recycle the plastic this is made out of and get more money than that. I think the best option for these people is to have someone like me come through. You'd be surprised at that flea market how much stuff gets left on the table. It's easy to look at it as like, oh, he buys all the stuff and nobody else gets any. No. I mean, sometimes I get there late. I'm going to admit, I like to sleep in. I'm a guy that likes my sleep. I get
But
there
that's a
late.
passive aggressive response, though. The idea that I should leave stuff there for someone else, like that's so passive aggressive. You know what I mean? If I go to 5 garage sales and there's boxes of games, I'm buying them all. I'm not
Sure.
worried about some 6-year-old kid that's not going to get a PS4 game or something.
But my
It's
point is
just
that he still will, because again, the stuff, it's sitting there, right? I mean, and the days I get there
yeah.
late, it's like, man, what is this, NES doing sitting here? And I know all the other resellers there, because believe me, I am far from the only one there. All right. There's guys with IKEA bags everywhere. You don't see them, and I'm not filming them, but they're there, right? There's people always reaching over my shoulder. It gets climactic sometimes. But it's like, if
It
I
gets
get there
aggressive.
late and that stuff's still sitting there, it's because they didn't want it. You'd be surprised what these people pass over. And a lot of times, because a lot of resellers, they get Mario on the brain, Zelda on the brain, Pokemon on the brain. And if it's not that, they just don't get it, or they don't want to fool with it. They probably don't want to sit on it for a long time. But yeah, you're not buying it all up and then no one else gets any. It's not that. Now, a lot of times I get to a table and I can tell it's already been picked over, but even on those days that I don't get there super, super early, you can't have a bad day. You always leave with something. Again, to my point that the stuff is everywhere. People can't get rid of this stuff fast enough. And it's because we've gone too fast, even into this new Gen 9, right? So that even Gen 8 games now are already in this pitiful garbage stage where all these PS4, Xbox One games aren't even worth a solid $5. They're barely worth
Yeah.
breaking a five, right? I mean, they're just worthless. And I'm sorry, it is what it is, right? So it's like, oh man, you only gave them $2 for that game. They're lucky. They're so damn lucky. Because if I didn't, nobody's going to buy it. They're going to take it home. And that's not what they want to do. And if they go to GameStop, they're going to get $1.25 for it, which what the hell are you going to do with that? And nothing, because it's trade. Then you're going to accept the cash deal for 75 cents. And you're not going to do that either, because you're not even going to pull your driver's license out to get 3/4. So let's be real here. It's worth what it's worth. We don't decide what that is. And I've had people say, well, what if they're collecting money for something or they need it for medical bills? It's like, I don't know. What if? Let them put up a sign and let me know that's what it is. And hell, I may just give you some money. I don't know. I donate to charities. But that's not what this is. I mean, you're making up all these what ifs and for instances. It's like,
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. You don't know. Nobody's saying that. So why are we even talking about that? I asked how much. They said $2. I gave them $2. Or it's not worth $2 and I moved on. Or they had 20 of them and I said, we'll do $1 a piece, but I'll buy them all. What do you think? And they're like, hell yeah. So that kind of thing. But I could go on all day about it. It's just, it's fine if nobody wants to do that, if that's not how you want to get games. But I've been game hunting since the 90s, buddy. This isn't something I just started doing. It is something that a lot of other people just started doing.
Yeah.
Now it's like, and Captain Retro, I'll tell you too, in this area, there are people that put up fake ads on Craigslist for decoy yard sales that aren't real. And there'll be pictures of like, they pull off a Reddit forum of like a bunch of rare games, somebody's game collection, and like, yeah, go here because they know there's some games over here on the map,
Yep.
and they want to make sure
That's
they get there
great.
first. That aggressive around here, it's wild. And those are career resellers. Those are the guys that they're not going to eat, right, if they don't sell those games. I
Yep.
don't rely on this for income at all. This is just, it's how I've built this
Yeah.
collection. I would never have
Yep,
paid
for sure.
retail for all this stuff. That's how I amassed all this stuff. I'd be surprised if I really have any money in all this stuff net over the course of my doing this. Wins versus losses.
Retro Heck with the $1.99 dono. Thanks, man. He says, thanks for never changing over the years, buddy. Thanks, Holmes. I try to stay true to who I am, man. I make the content that I want to make, and I try and look out for gaming channels, especially the smaller ones that don't have the stroke or the confidence to tell other YouTubers that they're wrong. And that's what I did in that last video. Trying to course correct the toxicity and the problems that we have is something that I'm sort of passionate about. And it wasn't really the view count on that video, but it was really sort of the reaction in the comment section, what people said, that really kind of had me thinking that maybe I should go harder at some of these people. But that's just me. If that's something you guys want to watch, to answer what Emceemur just said, I started my entire video game collection. I took $40 out of the checking account. I said, honey, I'm going to start buying and reselling retro video games. I'm going to build the collection that I want. And, I don't hunt. I don't fish. I don't go to the strip club. I don't play in a bowling league. My thing is retro games. And everything that I have is because I bought, sold, and traded. And I started with $40. So now we've got some money put away. We have a beautiful collection that I'm very happy with, but there is absolutely no way that you could build a collection now with the prices they are, and with how you have to buy games. You can't pay retail for this stuff. You just can't.
Well, you can, but I just don't know why you would.
Yeah, it's too expensive. You got to win the lottery. But then I also sort of get mad at, to change gears, we talk about fake people making videos that they don't want to make, but they feel like they have to make. I cannot stomach one more GD. Is the Virtual Boy worth collecting in 2023? I can't stand any more of those videos because it's just it's manufactured. It doesn't come off authentic, and it's a bad look, in my opinion. And those videos drive me nuts. Or the hidden gem videos where I'm going to show you 10 hidden gems, but they're all really expensive, and I'm going to tell you that I got it for $3. And basically, I'm going to tell you in a roundabout way that you're never going to own this awesome game. They're just down low showpieces for me to show you, how I got all these really awesome, rare, and expensive games that you're never going to own for cheap. And I started doing like some hidden gem type stuff. I got some decent views, but I actually tried to show people real hidden gems that they could get for like $5. You know what I mean? Really good games.
I think there's enough games out there that are in that price range that you don't really ever have to spend that kind of money. I mean, and if you really are collecting to collect, that's fine. If you're collecting for investment's sake, that's fine too, because I think there are people that are like, I bought this at 200 and now it's worth 400, and okay. And, you'll eventually probably sell that. There's people talking about the bubble bursting, and they've been talking about that for years, and it still hasn't happened. Then we had the whole WADA scandal with the grading games and all that, and people freaked out about that. But in my mind, I'm just sitting back sipping my coffee, because in my mind, it's like, man, I already got everything. So if that stuff's going to go crazy in value, that just makes me worth more money. The only people that are truly upset about that, I think, and it's not what they were doing was ethical. It obviously wasn't, but if you just started collecting 3 years ago because you bought a Switch and you're all up in arms and excited about it, then yeah, it's going to be a steeper uphill climb for you. And I hate that. But hey, maybe watch my show, get a few tips, because the deals are still out there. You're going to see in this upcoming episode, oh my God, what a day I had. It's unbelievable, some of the stuff that is still out there. And it's just like, man, at this point, if you're still able to find stuff like this, then anybody can still find it like this and come by it honest and not deplete your bank account. But we've really just landed in a different place now to where a lot of people don't like game hunters because the focus shifted to the reselling aspect again, and the profit margins. That all became the interesting thing. But now we flip that on its head. Now people are angry that people are making any money on it. So it's like, do I change the show now? The answer is partially yes. I have to make sure I'm explaining what I'm doing a lot better because people need to understand that I am a collector first. A lot of people, I think, are starting to doubt that. I've been collecting since the early 90s. I was officially collecting as of the early 90s. The first time I was able to say that, man, games can be collected, right? That's an amazing thing because back then you got one game for Christmas, one game for your birthday. That was it. You didn't
Yeah.
collect games. You were never going to have enough games to call it a collection as much as, I mean, games used to be like $80 a hit. But one day I was at a friend of a friend's house and this kid had like 70 NES games, 70. And I'm like nudging my buddy. I'm like, man, how does he have all these games? They're like, oh, well, you know, his folks travel a lot and they just leave them at home with the NES and it's the electronic babysitter. I'm like, I mean, no judgment, do what you got to do. But either way, this kid had 70 NES games. Wasn't caring about what he did with them. In my mind, I was like, this guy has a collection, right? It dawned on me at that moment. Games could be something you collect. So as we moved into the trash phases of the 8-bit stuff in the 90s, I started building my collection there. You're talking to a guy that bought Mega Man 5 brand new at Best Buy for $9 on a clearance rack. That's how long I've been doing this, man. I don't need to tell you how much that's worth now, but you
Yeah.
know,
Right.
over the course of time, everything ends up in its garbage phase. So you're going to have games that you can get for under $10, under $5, even under $3, but that doesn't change the fact that those games were good and are still good, you know. But you're over the time, you've got to sell some stuff off because you end up with duplicates. You end
Hmm.
up and like, oh, well, if you don't need that, then don't buy it just to resell it. Well, no, I'm going to because a lot of times buying the whole lot is how you make the unit price cheaper. You know that.
Exactly.
Uh, and if you're talking about being worried about the guy behind you is a reseller. The guy behind him is a reseller. And behind him, we can go all day. They all have IKEA bags. They're all doing it, man. I'm not saying that, and then they'll come back with, oh, well, you're part of the problem then because you're not part of the solution. I'm telling you, it's not a problem. It's just the state of the hobby today. And I'm going to bring up sports card collecting again. It went crazy, right? We went from cars being worthless to all of a
Yes.
sudden a Pat Mahomes rookie is 80 grand. All right. But cool, right? Because the people that have been in the hobby for a long time now, they're seeing a big uptick in the values of what they have. And anybody that wants to get back into it is going to have to fight scalpers to get product. But that was exciting to me. Can I say that? It was exciting to me going every Friday trying to find the card drops because the scalpers they were buying them up to flip them. I was buying them to open them. You know, I was excited about it, but it made it more exciting because I was like, man, this is intense, right? You may or may not get this. It made it exciting. I don't know. And yeah, I'm not saying that I like the scalpers that do that. You know, they're not card collectors. They're just flipping the wax on eBay. And when some of it stopped having autographs and numbered parallels in it and that kind of thing, the scalping has started to die off now. Where we had empty shelves, now they're full. You know, they've moved on. The scalpers move on. They find something else to go scalp, but they're always going to scalp because they're career resellers. They always have to be on the forums and be listening on the underground because they have a network for what the next big thing is to buy, especially at Christmas time. What's the big toy? What's the Christmas item? What do we all need to be scalping? And then that's what they're going to go scalp. That to me is reselling. And I'm not even shaming those people. That's just that's the job. And that's what they do. It's as long as there's people buying those items, then the buyers are enabling it. It's just something that you're going to have to deal with. But that to me is what a reseller. I have never once thought of myself as a reseller because I resold something. I think what we do is an integral link in the chain of preservation. We're finding, you're talking to a guy that found a boxed 32X under a lawnmower. Okay. I mean, I've done it all, man. I've seen it all, and I still haven't seen it
Yeah.
all. I'm still going to see things, but When you see something like that, it just blows your mind. It's like this thing is lost to the ages.
Mhm.
So at that point, yeah, buy it. And they don't care what it is. Just give them what they're asking and get out of there. And I still have that 32X for the record. I mean, I already had my 32X. I just didn't have the box for it. But I
Yeah,
kept it, right? And what an amazing thing to find that they didn't even know was in their own garage.
that's
I did
wild,
sell,
man. That is
I
that's
sold.
crazy town.
It is. I asked the guy, "Do you have any games?" He said, "No." And I saw the yellow. Like he wasn't doing the sale in his garage. He was out on his driveway. But I said, "What's that?" And he said, "I don't know. What are you looking at?" I said, "Under the lawnmower." You know how the lawnmower has the leaf chute off to the side, right? It was like tucked into the chute where the leaves would be coming out, right? I guess it got wedged in there over time. I said, "Can I look at that? That yellow box?" He said, "Yeah." And I go over there and I pull it out, and it's the styrofoam's not in it, but the system's in it, and the dead space is full of cartridges. Like, what is this? I said, "What do you want for this?" "I don't know, $10." "All right, thank you."
Perfect.
And
Yeah. No,
yeah,
no
I
kidding.
sold some of the games because I already had them. I sold the 32X because I have my 32X, and quite frankly, it's a lot cleaner than this one. But I kept the box too because it's sharp. But yeah, that stuff wasn't going to be bought that day. It wasn't going to be found that day. When you're actually buying out something that there is a market for, retail market, and then going to sell it in the secondary market for an honest to God scalp job, that's reselling. That guy that was doing all the PS5s, what was it? Jake Randall? What was his name? He got real big, blew up to like a 6-figure sub count because he was showing everybody how and where to buy PS5s. And I'm not saying anything negative about this gentleman because I don't know what he did with all the PS5s that he must have bought. But I just wonder. And I don't know if anybody ever even asked, but it's just kind of wild to me that he blew up and had that amazing success from buying all those PS5s at the height of the time when it was like PS5s were being widely scalped and people were so wilding on not being able to get one. Now, to his credit, I think he helped a lot of people get one. That was the focus of his show, showing you when the drops were and when to get them online and all that. But I don't know how many he actually bought, right? So that's like, I guess what I'm saying is at a certain point, you just have to be okay with what everybody does, right? If it doesn't cross your street. And people are always going to resell because it's been proven to be a career at this point. So there's going to be people that do that. I mean, odds are that dude probably sold a few PS5s. I mean, why wouldn't you? If you ended up with 6 or 10 of them or whatever he ended up with, that's always, again, I can't say, I don't know. I didn't watch all 100 of the videos he did on that, but that always stuck out to me in my mind. It's like that's kind of wild, right? Because I can tell you right now, if I bought a bunch of PS5s during the height of that thing, I would be getting some serious flack for it. It's just interesting to me, but people, that was a prime example of scalping and reselling at its wildest. There were people posting stuff on socials that had like literal garage rooms full of PS5 boxes just stacked to the ceiling. And like, hey, hit me up, DM, $2,000 or best offer. And it's like,
Uh,
whoa, dude. Now that's reselling. And let me explain to you that when you're doing that, you're taking that off the retailer's hands, right? But unlike what I do, you're not assuming a risk. And the reason you're not assuming a risk is because Walmart, GameStop, all these places have the most lax return policies imaginable. You can open that box and take a shit in it, pardon my language, and still return it after Christmas, after all the hubbub's over with, because they did it. They did it with the Wii U, and it backfired. I was working for GameStop at that time. People bought the Wii U's up in the same format, but they couldn't get rid of them because nobody ended up caring about the damn thing.
yeah,
So
nobody wanted
there
them.
were people pulling up to our GameStops with truckloads of Wii U's. I need to return all these, and all I could do was look and see that the serial numbers didn't match, and like, man, we can't take these back. I don't know where you got them. Oh God. And then but if they had, though, we would have had to take them back. So they get to house a retail company stock, not pay tax on it, and get a shot at flipping it And then if they don't, they can just go
Yes.
get their money back. And in the
It,
meantime,
it is
it's
a,
held
it is
hostage so
a,
you can't get one.
yes, it is. It is a free bite at the profit apple, is what it
Yes.
is.
And to me, that's reselling. That's the height of it right there. If I buy something found under some guy's lawnmower in Hillbilly USA, that doesn't affect you. You weren't going to be able to buy it. You know what I mean? Unless you're there, and you weren't, I'm sure. So it's just like when you're out in the wild trying to find these things to refurbish and to collect and whatever, you're just going to have a hard time selling on me anything that's wrong with doing that, because there just isn't anything. But if you want to argue about the scalping being a bad thing, well, yeah, that is kind of an issue there, where they can hold on to it and then return it. No risk, no problem. They, if it doesn't sell, fine. The NES Mini and the Super Nintendo Mini,
Yep, I remember that.
that was wild, man. That was wild. That was just absolutely wild. I pulled up that was what Amazon launched their treasure truck with. I don't even think they do that anymore. You remember that? The Amazon treasure truck?
I don't. I'm not a big Amazon guy.
The treasure truck was actually a thing that would pull up in your neighborhood or in your town, and they would have a hot item. And if you could order it online, you could go to the truck and pick it up. Well, one day the treasure truck, this was shortly after the NES Mini, and it was still going crazy, right? Treasure truck comes to Atlanta. I ordered one and got one, went out to the treasure truck. I hadn't even got to the truck. Here comes this guy from the truck. He has his arms spread eagle like an angel, and he's got bags lining his arms to his hands, and it's all NES minis. Which there was supposed to be a limit, so he must have done it on other IPs. I don't know how he did it, but he quickly ducked into a black sedan that pulled up at the curb, and they vanished. And it was just like, again, I don't even say anything good, bad, or indifferent. It was just wild in how people were doing this stuff.
Yeah, right.
It's like, so
That's
circling back,
crazy time.
that's a reseller. Okay. If you want to know what a reseller is, that's it. Because this guy took something that there already was a demand for, made sure you couldn't get it, and had a shot at getting a profit on it. And Amazon's another one I left off that list, with extremely lax return policies. If he didn't
Yeah,
sell any of those, which he sold them all. If he didn't, though, he could have returned them for
and
all of
got
his money
yeah,
back. So there was no
exactly.
risk there, but a lot of people that drove all the way to Atlanta probably may not have got one, you know? So that's one of that to me is reselling. That's what it is. And I'm not even trying to demonize anyone that does it. It's just something we got to deal with now, because it's a legit career path that people have picked. But I don't see how you get to group me or any other game hunter in with that, because it's just not the same thing.
Yeah, and especially when they selectively enforce that. You do it, you're the bad guy. If I do it, then nobody says anything. If Captain Retro does it, people go nuclear. If Retro Tiburon does it, it's okay. You know what I mean? It's like it's very selective enforcement on how some of these people view what we are doing. And even if you're buying games and reselling games to, pay for your collection or, make a couple extra bucks, you know, a lot of them either don't have the capital to go big now because you gotta have to kind of buy in bulk now to get the best deals, or they're just jealous because there's nothing in their areas. I see that a lot, and when you watch that content, they let it slip. Their little excited utterances and little nods and facial expressions, micro expressions on their face that they make that signify their disgust with their own life that they project out onto that YouTuber. And we're kind of talking about the guy that we've already talked about before. But Heckler Steve in his video was like, "Oh yeah, when I was able to go game hunting, well, why aren't you able to go game hunting now?" And then he's knocking on Shad Juice. These guys don't even look at the disc anymore because they all own disc resurfacers. Yes, that's what a responsible business owner does. They, they
Uh,
they buy things, they invest in their business so they can generate more profits, so they can take care of the buyers better. And it's just
I
so
think,
visceral. You
I
say
think
shit like that.
where Steve is at with it is he just does not like the immoral or unethical, the people that pull up to a box full of Neo Geos and says, "I'll give you $1 each for these," to the soccer mom, and then they hightail it out of there. And honestly, I get that. I get that. When they lowball somebody that badly off something that they clearly have no idea what it is. I can see why somebody would have a problem with it. And it was a real eye opener to me hearing his take on the things that I was doing, because it let me know that there were people that were seeing me in a light that they obviously hadn't seen me in before, because 4,000 to 5,000 people watched those videos and I'd heard nary a word about it. But I think his heart, strangely enough, is in the right place there. But I can't sit there and say that all resellers are doing bad things just because they are reselling. And I know Shad Juice, he resells like crazy, not just games, anything he can get his hands on, right? So I don't know if he's a
Yep.
career guy or not. Maybe he is. Um, but yeah, I mean, the talk about just it being bad in general, that's something that I'm very open to debating, because of course I disagree. And I can tell you what happened in any scenario that you see that I've done that you may take issue with. I invite people to ask questions. When I tell you to leave a comment, I love to get a conversation going with you. I really mean that, not just interaction begging.
Yeah, me
If you have a
too.
question, ask. And, the things that were talked about on my show were misunderstood, but I own that I miscommunicated those things. I should have been more open with what was going on. The one deal where I bought the bag of rare games for $40. Well, I mean, come to find out, not much of that actually did work. And it was funny because the guy telegraphed that. I've been doing this forever, man. Well, they may not, some of them may not work. I don't know. They probably do. When they start saying that, that means they all don't work. Okay. Or at least you have
Right.
to assume that at that point, right? That's the body language. It was all there. So I was ready for some of that stuff not to work. And most of it, some of it I was not able to fix. Some of it I was. We fixed the Pokemon game, thank God. So yeah, we got out of it. But yeah, to everybody else's eye, it looked like I was just hustling this dude, when in reality, the guy, he hadn't tested any of it. He couldn't show that it was working. And I think he probably did know that it didn't work. And
Absolutely.
I wasn't going to go in his house and sit there and play GameCube with him. It's just whatever, man. He just wanted to get rid of it. I gave him the money. But yeah, it's a tough spot because I need people to enjoy my show. I want people to enjoy what I create, and I want people to see the value in what I'm showing you how to do.
Right.
I'm not
I,
telling
I
you to go
think
out
that,
and rip people off. That's not what I'm telling you to do. I'm just telling you there are hordes of people out there with carloads of used games that just want a couple bucks for it. And if that's how you want to buy games, you can game for very, very cheap.
yeah, I think that way back in the day when we started showing pickup videos and really started to exploit the fact that, I was at a garage sale and I got this box of games for $10 and I'm going to sell these 5 games. I'm going to add these 5 games to the collection. It was, we're doing it because we want to show people how to build game collections. We want to help people uh, understand what they can do if they're passionate about gaming, but they're working on a budget. And all of a sudden, it just seems like this has turned into a bad situation. Wait, you lost me? Oh no! Oh no! Emceemur's frozen on my end.
I'm back. I don't know what happened there, but
Oh, there he is. But I was just saying that most of us that do pickup videos and whatnot, and we started doing pickup videos a decade ago, and we really got into that showing off of not just here's what I picked up today, but I bought this box of games for $10. I'm going to sell these 5 games to pay for the box, and I'm going to keep these 5 games for my collection. We did that because we just wanted to show other gamers who are working on a budget or didn't know how to build a game collection how to do that in an efficient and cost-effective manner. And all of a sudden, it just seems like in today's era, we are just bastardized and raked over the coals by people that don't even care about the hobby to begin with. And it starts to like get in my craw as somebody that fancies myself a real gamer and a real game collector to watch these people succeed at tearing us down. And it just gets in my craw, to use a
well,
southern term.
I've taken a lesson from it. I've just decided that if people really do take issue with the profit part of it, then we'll just focus on that less. And we'll just focus on the games that we create. And we'll just focus on the games that we create. And we'll just focus on the games that we create. And we'll just focus on the games that we create. And we'll just focus on the games that we create. And we'll just focus on the games that we create. And we'll just focus on the games that we create. And we'll just focus on the games that we create. And we'll just focus on the games that we create. And we'll just focus on the games that we create. And we'll just focus on the games that we create. And we'll just focus on the games that we create. And we'll just focus on the games that we create. And we'll just focus on the games that we create. And we'll just focus on the games that we create. And we'll just focus on the games that we create. And we'll just focus on the games that we create. And we'll just focus on the games that we create. And we'll just focus on the games that we create. And we'll just focus on the games that we create. And we'll just focus on the games that we create. And we'll just focus on the games that we create. And we'll just
Yep. Murph freezing up again.
And I don't know how to, we can do that. Again, I'm going to do what people want to watch ultimately. If people want me to become a Fortnite channel tomorrow, let's play some Fortnite. I don't know what else to tell you. I'm at the point in my YouTube career where I will definitely do what people want to see, because I've been doing this too long to not do that. And now I'm offering YouTube classes for people trying to come up out there, for people trying to monetize. And I'm hoping that people will sign up for that. I've already had one guy do it, and he really enjoyed it. And there was a lot of value in it for him. But one of the main things I teach in that class is that you've got to do what people are going to watch. And when you finally get that bite, it's like fishing. That's your spot right there. You can't leave the spot. You got to keep doing that. I'm fortunate that I've built up an audience for the game hunting, but I can't even really say that I built it up, right? Because it was built up out of some luck. There's always got to be some luck, right? Collaborations. Like I did a collaboration with Collector's Luck, Jordan. He's a cool dude, man. And he shouted me out on his channel. I shouted him out on mine. There's that nice cross pollination. Got a few hundred of his viewers over to my side too. And that's not a competition thing. They can watch us both. These people watch all the channels, right? But I also got Retro Rick's attention.
Yeah.
God bless him. And Retro Rick, I had no idea he was shouting me out. That just happened. And it blew the roof off my channel. In fact, that's exactly what he told everybody to do. He's like, this Emceemur dude is hilarious. And he finds some really cool stuff. Let's go blow him out of the water. Subscribe to this dude. You're really going to like him. And I'll always be grateful to Rick for that. Man, he really went to bat for me. But that was like a few thousand subs overnight. Then I became YouTube creator on the rise. Things really started getting out of control quickly. Long story short, I have a fairly decent sized viewer base for the content that I want to be doing, and I'm very grateful for that. But I can't even really claim that I earned it all, right? I mean, some luck had to play in there. And, I guess what I'm trying to say is nobody does it alone. But I have a
Exactly.
viewer base for that type of content, so I've got to keep doing that kind of content in some form or
Yeah. I've always felt that there should be a community aspect to our community. And like you said, like shout outs, that's something that we used to do all the time.
fashion. If we've shifted from not liking the collecting aspect, that's where I started, was the collection aspect. I started this as a collection channel. So if y'all want to go back to that, let's go back to that. That's not a problem. It's just hard to really get a read on what people want. All you can do is look at your analytics and take the feedback that you hope will be constructive and not aggressive or abusive. And, just try to tweak and fine tune some things. Ultimately, I want people to enjoy the show, because if no one enjoys it, I'm not going to do it. But I think there's a lot of people that do. And I want to make sure it's the best form of itself each and every time.
Absolutely. Well, it's 9:00. We've been going for an hour and a half. Do you have any topics that you would like to address before we get out of here?
Let me look at my notes here. I mean, I think we've really touched on a lot of it, and it has been a great talk. And I hope that, people will watch the recap that missed it too, and we'll get something out of this. I think we do just need to circle back to the main topic, was that the gaming community is in trouble. And I don't mean to keep going back to the sports card thing, but I'm going to do it. It's the same thing. It went way more mainstream than it ever had been before. So all of a sudden you had the entirety of the pie graph in on the hobby, and it blew up. And that's what's happened to gaming. So you've got every type of person, every walk of life, every personality type in on this now, and the effect that has on a hobby. What I'm trying to say is, if we consider the community to be damaged in that regard, I don't know that there's any fixing it. I think you just have to roll with it. And if the thing as a whole ends up having these different perspectives on what gaming is and what it should be, that is going to, again, do lasting damage. I had it out with a YouTuber on Twitter a while back who was very angry at me for selling games. Resellers, a game should never be sold. And I'm like, well, your games can't be sold. How do you buy them? I mean, he was just confused. He was confusing me. And again, he was really just arguing the whole supply and demand thing. He was trying to tell me that I raise prices by putting 5 Wiis on the market. Whereas no, I put 5 on there. Each one undercutted the last one. Now Wiis are cheaper. You're welcome. Okay. I don't know how else to explain it to you, but that guy, and again, I'm not naming names here in a negative sense, but this dude had like 50,000 subs. So look at the platform he has to misinform with, if that's his intention.
Yeah.
That's the dangerous spot, right? That's where the gaming community can be in trouble. They start subscribing to these crazy ideas, whether it be that or whether it be, I see people like smashing Wii U's because they thought, remember they thought the Wii U was going to cause problems for the Switch, so everybody wanted to burn 3DSs and Wii U's. I've seen big YouTubers shovel poop on top of Sega Master Systems and tell you it's terrible and it's a console you should never play, and it's something that they, although, well, he said it, now I'm going to say it, right? It's just,
Yeah, Cat Retro's right. Jump on bandwagons, eBay, drama videos, create drama. Yeah, groom underage kids, cheat charities, lie, steal, and cheat to win. That's how you make a channel. So yeah, I don't know. If Murph rose up again. Mur, come back. Help me, Emceemur. You're my only hope. Yeah. These big YouTubers, man, always let you down. It's unbelievable. I don't know why Mur is frozen on my end. Oh, Mur dropped out. Yeah, he's stuck in the phantom zone. Let me try to do this and do that. Let me do this. There he is. There he is. What's up, buddy?
yep, sorry I dropped you there, but yeah, that's where I'm at with it. It's like I don't know if there's a, in other words, it kind of suggests that this whole talk was a moot point because I mean the large consensus, the large population that is the gaming community, it can think whatever it wants, and it can try to decide whatever the hobby is going to be, and then they can change the face of it as a whole. And a lot of them get mad at gatekeeping, but I've told people before, yeah, the gatekeeping's not nice, but a lot of times gatekeeping gets misidentified when in reality it's preservation, and it's called gatekeeping by the very people it's intended to keep out. So I don't know. I don't know how you fix it. We come from another time, man. We come from the old
Yeah,
school, and
that
eventually,
is the truth.
I mean, that time's not going to be forgotten. But we have a skewed idea of what it is or what it was. A lot of people, when you're looking at somebody that's 20 years old to be the face of retro gaming and tell you all this stuff, I don't even know that they can do that. You know, I can read a dissertation on the Vietnam War or read something on the Wikipedia, but I can't tell my dad what it was like to wade through the Mekong with an M16 over his head because I wasn't there.
Right.
There's a value in what he can provide to me in that aspect because he was, you know. So again, I just want to make sure I provide value. I hope people want to hear about stuff that, you know, that somebody that's going to be real with them because a lot of it just comes from a very disingenuous spot. Some of these guys.
I agree. I agree. All right. Well, with that said, thanks Oak City Gamers and Retro Heck for the $1.99 donos. I definitely appreciate it. You guys rock. Two of my best friends right there. Secondhand toy dealer just showed up, so it's good to see him. But
Yeah, I
yeah,
appreciate
man,
everybody hanging out with us.
I make the content that I want to make, and hopefully the like-minded people that are my age want to watch it. And
You know,
yeah,
all in
MC
all, if
Murs
that's
channel.
all you get out of it, you know, that's a win. If that's all you get out of it, that's a win. Because I came here to network first, and I insist that there are people that have disagreed with me on some things, but we've got to talking in the comments, and they've since, you know, we find common ground. I think we all have common ground, right? In the games. So if we can find that, I'm not trying to be all kumbaya on you, but yeah, I mean, there's some good out there. The community can be better than it is.
I agree, 100%. Well, on that note, I want to thank everybody for stopping by, everybody for commenting. I really do appreciate it. And I definitely want to thank MC Murph for jumping on the stream tonight. A link to his
Thanks for
channel
having me.
is down below. So make sure you check out MC Mur Flea Market Flippin'. Thanks, everybody. And we'll see you on the next one. Bye.
Good night.